Paul for a long, long time. Victor that comes to church here, obviously, too. I've known Vic for a long, long time, and I got a lot of my family and friends and stuff here that have seen me pre-legs when I had legs, so there's a difference there. But mentally, too. There was a time that back in the day I wouldn't have, I don't know that I would have survived some of the things that I've been through just because, God had to mold my mentality a little bit different before he took me through the journey that I'm still currently on right now. But one thing that I want you to think about while I'm speaking today, there's a Bible verse that I kind of mold my story around, my path around. It's Jeremiah 29:11. Some of you may know it, but it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Now, there's been a lot of times in my life where I've struggled wondering what that hope was. I've struggled wondering what that future was, struggled wondering what the next step was, how my journey was going to continue in a sense in life. I'm from Burke County. I am, born and raised there. Actually, I was born in California. My dad was in the Marine Corps, my mom, and she's here now. But I was born in California. Don't remember it. I was 3 years old when I came back home, so just got told stories about it. Grew up in Burke County. My parents divorced. I think I was 10 or 11 years old. At the time, I chose to stay with my dad primarily more. My sister was with my mom, and I was just at the softball fields 24/7. I was, raised up by my grandmother. She passed away a couple of years ago, but she was very, very, close to me and inspirational in my life at that time. But my dad, anybody that knows him, his name's Chad Carswell. He's a lot of people pretty much know him. Might be the craziest human that I've ever met in my life, just from the stories and the things that I grew up with. Now, mind you, I'm grateful because I'm not sure that I would still be here if it weren't for the things that I witnessed growing up. But I say that to tell you that I went in the military when I got out of school, and I was actually in my 5th week of boot camp when 9/11 happened. And, the world was perfect. Nothing was going on. Then all of a sudden we were attacked, and 4 months later, probably something like that, I was in the southern border of Iraq at Qatar and serving in Operation Enduring Freedom. And did that a couple of times. Found out that I was going to be a dad and got out of the military and came home. Didn't really know what I was going to do. I actually had planned on staying in, and I was with my ex-wife one day looking at a car, and she was walking around it talking about there were scratches, and I was like, "It's used. If you want a new one, go across the street." That started my journey in the car business, which also started my journey of the physical ailments that would end up coming. I got in the car business and realized really quickly I was really good at this. I was really, really good at it. I had knew and made a decision mentally that I was going to be the greatest car guy there ever was to walk the face of the earth. There was nobody going to be better than me. I was going to be the best, and I was. I was really good. I mean, really, really good. Now, being really good in the car business comes a couple of things with that. There's just things that come with it. Make up yourself. I mean, it is what it is, but that was my goal. It was nothing else. I want to be the greatest car guy ever. I had told multiple people in my life that when I die, I want to be known as the greatest car guy ever. That's what I want to be known as. I didn't care about the greatest son. I didn't care about the greatest friend. I didn't care about the greatest brother. I didn't care about the greatest husband. I didn't care about any of that. I wanted to be the greatest car guy there ever was. That was my goal. And I lived it. With that came smoking cigarettes, eating McDonald's 47,000 times a day, working crazy hours, gaining weight. I got out of the military, and it was probably a year and a half after I got out of the military, I got up to almost 400 pounds. Would have never have thought that I weighed that much. Never knew that I had gotten that. I don't know how. You get up that big. I don't know how. I still played softball. I still played basketball some. I don't know if you could say played when I was that big, but I was there. I showed up. But I realized one day I took my daughter to the beach, and I remember, never forget, that I got pictures developed at CVS, and I was standing on the boardwalk. The little fishies, floating down, and I had my arm around my daughter, and they developed the pictures, and I got them, and I was like, wow, that's me. I couldn't see out of my eyes. I mean, I was so big, like I was a big one. I mean, it was crazy. And I said, at that moment, I was like, I need to lose some weight. This can't be that healthy. So I changed kind of a little bit about my diet, but I didn't really change a whole lot. I really just started drinking a whole lot of water, lost a whole lot of weight really, really quick, but was never into the gym, was never into, working out. I just knew that I needed to lose some weight. It was probably 2.5, 3 years later, I was actually trying to apply for life insurance. Me and my ex-wife had applied. She was a gym junkie. She was that super preferred $27 for, $1 million life insurance policy. And I was sitting there like, well, maybe mine will be like $200 if hers is $27. I'm still going to get it. It's just going to be a little bit higher. So I'll never forget, Bill Abey was the insurance agent. And I got a phone call from him one day, and he said, go to the hospital. I'm sitting at work. I was running a car dealership, and I'm sitting at work, and I get a phone call about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it says, go to the hospital. And I said, yeah, I'll go after I get out of work. Remember, I'm the greatest car guy. I can't leave work. Part of the greatest car guy was you didn't miss work. I missed a lot of family functions. I missed a lot of events. I missed a lot of things with my family because my priority was that car dealership. If I wasn't there, nobody could do it as good as me, so I had to be there. So I get this phone call, and he says, go to the hospital. And I'm like, yeah, I'll go in a little bit. And he's like, no, you need to go right now. And I said, I had already had in my mind this mental picture that I had diabetes. And I was like, because I started feeling the tingling in my legs, and I used to have 20/20 vision. My vision was going bad slowly, but I had really never thought it because I had never been told it. But he tells me, I asked him straight up on the phone, I said, would they tell me to go to the hospital for diabetes? And he said, I know the doctor who reviews our labs. He wouldn't tell me to tell you that to go to for diabetes. So obviously, me doing what every normal human did, I pulled up WebMD. He sent me my lab work, and I had liver cancer, colon cancer, lung cancer, heart cancer, brain disease. I had everything. I was dead in 2 days, like it was over. So I was like, well, all right, I guess I need to go to the hospital, to the doctor. I called my dad at the time, and I called my ex-wife, and I said, I'm leaving work, I'm going to the hospital, something's not right. So I walked in to the doctor's office, and I handed him my labs. And as soon as I handed him my labs, the lady looked at me and said, this can't be right. And I was like, well, St. Ripley's, believe it or not, I'm not playing a joke on you. I don't want to be here any more than you want to be here. Like, what are we doing? And she said, have you ever been told you have diabetes? And I said, no. And she said, well, you have now. Now, anybody that knows anything about nursing, diabetes, that kind of thing, a normal blood sugar range is anywhere between 75 and like 125, somewhere around that neighborhood. A1C is like your 90-day blood glucose over the course of 90 days, what it levels out at. When I was in the hospital or at the doctor's office, my blood sugar at that time was 735. I was standing there talking to him just like me and you. I had programmed my body to thinking that all those things were okay, that my body was supposed to feel that way. I was supposed to be okay with feeling this way. I was supposed to be okay with, feeling bad and that kind of thing. And I didn't really feel that bad. You can ask Vic. We worked together at that time. I still had the same motor I have now. I don't know how. My A1C at the time was over 13. That's diabetic coma range. Those are levels where people shouldn't be here. My triglycerides was over 1,200. I should have had a stroke. I hadn't. I was literally going just like I am now. So I remember my dad and ex-wife was in the waiting room crying and all that, and I was like, y'all need to stop all that. Ain't no need for all that mess. Like, we'll be all right, whatever it is. I didn't know what they were going to tell me. So immediately started on diabetes medicine and honestly didn't take it seriously. Went right back to the car business, kept doing what I was doing. I figured I lost the weight, that it would take care of itself. I don't need to worry about it. It's not a big deal. About 4 years passed, and we played in a softball tournament one Saturday, and Casey, it's like my best friend and sister, she's sitting right there. Wave back, everybody, Casey. Wave, Casey. And my best friend, he'll come in here in a minute. And when you see this like guy that's half as pretty as I am with a bald head and stuff walk in here, his name's Alan. Everybody clap for him because he's always late. Like, it doesn't matter what's going to happen. You got to tell him like 3 hours before, and then he'll be on time. But anyway, he'll be here shortly. We'll clap for him when he comes in here. He'll like that. But so we had a beach trip planned. 4 of us, wives, spouses, all of us, we were going to the beach to play golf. Rented this little suite up at Myrtle Beach. Now, mind you, remember, I'm from Burke County. My dad's crazy. I was grown up, raised, when you got a blister, you took a knife and you popped the blister. You duct tape stuff when you got a cut. Like, you didn't go. My dad, let me tell you something. You can ask my mom, she's standing there too. Everybody that knows my dad, he didn't go to the doctor. I seen my brother run a 4-wheeler up the front of his shin and rip the skin off all the way down to his bone, and he took duct tape and put it over it. I seen him play softball at the Armory in Conover and take a softball off the side of his eye to where his eye socket was showing, and he took 6 butterfly strips and put it over it and played 12 more games. That's the craziness I see. So, right before I'm getting ready to go to the beach, I play this softball tournament, and I come home, and I remember taking my shoe off, and neuropathy is a real thing. You can't feel anything on your feet. But I took a step, and it was, I can't really mimic it now because I don't have anything there to mimic, but when I lifted my leg up, I couldn't put my foot down. And I was like, what in the world? So I sat down on the chair, and I lifted my foot up, and I had a blister the size of a 50-cent piece that was coming off my foot, probably 1.5 inches, 2 inches up off the bottom of my foot. So I was like, oh, I played softball all day today. Feet were a little wet. I got a blister. So what do? You take your pocket knife out. You pop the blister, you wrap it up in some duct tape, and you're good. That's what I did right then. And I didn't tell nobody about it. I just cut it off and said, all right, we're good. So we go to the beach. We already paid for the trip. I wake up the morning we're supposed to go to the beach, and I got 103-degree fever. But I'm not going to the beach. That's not an option. So I'm driving down to Myrtle Beach, look like Lil Wayne, with a bottle of cold and flu medicine and a straw in it, sipping it all the way to Myrtle Beach. Sicker than a dog. I get to Myrtle Beach, and we have a tea time at 6 o'clock the next morning. Everybody's telling me, man, you can't play golf, you're sick, da-da-da. I'm like, nope, I'm going to bed, I'm going to get up, I'm going to eat some fruit, and we're going to play golf. So that's exactly what I did. We got up the next morning, went to Bojangles. I love a Cajun filet biscuit. I couldn't eat. I was sick, but I was playing golf. I didn't feel good. Fever was still jacked up all to the roof. Everything was crazy. By the time we got to the first tee box, I had a rash going up past my knee. Looked like I had chicken pox all the way up my leg. I just thought I had an allergic reaction. Pop a couple of Benadryl. We'll keep playing golf. We'll deal with it after we get done. We're fine. Tee off, 103-degree weather, 103-degree temperature. Sweating like crazy. I get to about probably the 15th hole, and I've completely got to the point where I can't maneuver. I can't function. And I sat down on the golf cart, let them finish, and we go back to the room. And everybody's sitting in the room, and at this point, I said, well, maybe I need to change my duct tape. Maybe my duct tape's a little off. So I cut my duct tape off, and I raised my foot up, and I got a hole. I bet you she remembers it. I got a hole deep in my foot, probably about 3/4 of an inch. And there's nothing, it's black. I mean, it's literally like the black hole in the bottom of my foot with this rash running up my leg. So I send a picture to my neighbor, and I'm like, hey, I got 3 more rounds of golf to play, but what can I take to just get me back till Monday? I come back home Monday. I go to Dr. Monday. How can I fix this till Monday? Immediately, she calls me, and she says, Chad, get to the hospital. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'll go Monday. I got 3 more rounds of golf to play. I got friends here. Like, we'll deal with that Monday. What do I need to do? And she says, you're septic. You can die. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not going to die. I'm sitting here, just play golf. Like, I'm good. Like, we don't need to worry about this. She's like, no, go to the hospital. So we were all getting ready to eat dinner. And I tell them, we're in Myrtle Beach, obviously a wait. Y'all go get us a table. I'm going to run to the hospital, get them to give me a little shot. I'll meet y'all at the restaurant. So me and my ex-wife at the time, we go to Grand Strand Regional Medical Center in Myrtle Beach. And we check in. And she checks me in. And she clicks fever is why I'm there. Now, mind you, there's more people in the waiting room there than there are in this church right now. And I'm like, you clicked fever. Is why I'm at the ER. I said, no, that's not going to work. So I walk up to the front thing, and I said, hey, she put a fever, but I'm here for a little bit more than the fever. She said, why are you here? I just threw my foot up there on the table, showed him the hole in my foot. She about fainted. She runs, grabs a wheelchair, throws me in a wheelchair, takes me to the back. The nurse starts working on me. I said, thank y'all for getting me back here quick. I got my friends at the restaurant. I need y'all to give me a shot. I got to go eat. Like, we need to hurry up. We need to get out of here. And she looks at me like I was half crazy, and she said, listen, you could die. First time I was ever told out of 9,000 times I've been told that. She said, you could die. And I'm like, yeah, I just played golf. Like, it's just a hole in my foot. We're good. Like, let's figure it out, you know. And she said, well, how'd you get it? And I said, well, I just opened my pocket knife and I cut the blister off, and it turned into this. And she said, you used a pocket knife on a diabetic foot ulcer that big. I said, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do with a blister. You're supposed to cut it off with a pocket knife. That's how I was raised. That's what you do. So immediately put me in the hospital. Told me I might lose my leg. I was in the hospital for 7 days, and in Myrtle Beach. Obviously no more golf. Friends and family and were visiting me like crazy. So that was the start. I come home, and over the course of this time, for the next 2 years, on my right leg, I had, I'm going to give you a rough guesstimate because I don't know the exact number, but well over 30 surgeries on my right leg. I was in the hospital well over 30 times. I had a doctor that was at Catawba Valley Medical Center, that was the head surgeon, that reviewed my charts every time, and the radiologist kept saying extensive growth of osteomyelitis. I still remember it like it was yesterday because I read these charts all the time. Extensive growth of osteomyelitis in the bone. Osteomyelitis is infection of the bone. The only way to get it out is cut the infection out of the bone. I never did that. They kept debriding it, making my hole bigger and bigger and bigger. Like, I mean, I got some pictures. Let me tell you, I got some cool pictures. If you're not faint of stomach, I can show you some stuff. It's pretty wild. But I had this surgery, and finally, I was like, all right, I can't deal with this guy anymore. After 2 years being in a cast, going through all these operations, I decided to go to Grace. Grace is owned by Caroline's Medical Center. As soon as I went into Grace, my foot was the size of a pineapple. Had all these surgeries, had a tube sticking through one end of my foot through the other end. And the doctor was like, why did he do that? I said, I'm not a doctor. I don't know. So they immediately send me to Caroline's Medical Center. 5 minutes after I'm in there, they tell me, we have to amputate the front half of your foot. So I was like, whatever. I mean, you know, that's what we got to do. I kind of like living, so if that's what we're going to cut off. So then I was kind of worried because I was like, maybe I'm not going to be able to walk. If I don't have half my foot, I'm not going to be able to walk. So then my dad sends me this little picture of a dude, some of you guys may know, a kicker, played in the NFL with half a foot. And then I was like, oh, I'm good. If he can kick in the NFL, I can live with half a foot. I'm straight. The journey continued. I kept getting infected. Ended up losing a toe on my left foot. Now, mind you, 90% of these problems were my fault. There's the kicker and the difference between a lot of situations that happen in life and of the way that we handle them and the way that we finally learn to overcome them. Because at the time, I made excuses to everybody. I'm eating better. I'm doing this better. I'm handling this better. I'm taking care of this better. And blood work don't lie. I wasn't. So it was my fault. It was a journey that I obviously had to continue to go down. So I lost a toe on my left foot. That journey started. Lost another toe on my left foot. Then they cut the front half of my left foot off. So I was a transmet's what it's called. It's metatarsal amputations on both my feet. And I'm like, all right. So I had these cool little braces. I looked like Forrest Gump. They went up my legs, and they had these little things in them. And I wore them for a little bit, and I was like, yeah, this ain't going to work for me. So I just started stuffing socks in the end of my shoes. Wore my same size shoes, just started stuffing socks in the end of my shoes. And the right leg got to the point where it wouldn't get any better, and I got a place on the right side of my foot. Still played golf, still did all these crazy things, you know, but I got this place on the outside of my right foot and went to the hospital, and they told me for 2 years I traveled back and forth to Baptist Hospital to the wound care center and had a cast up to my knee and had to get it cut off, put back on, cut it off, put back on every single week. Finally, they got to the point where, like, we're going to do a skin graft. We're going to take a big chunk of meat off the side of your leg. We're going to fix you. You're going to be good to go. So I went into surgery, and 10 days later, went back. They cut the cast off, and she's like, oh, my gosh, it didn't take. We got to start all over. I said, no, we don't. She said, what are you talking about? I said, here's how we're going to start over. We're going to cut it off. I'm done. I said, I'm not dealing with this anymore. I said, she's like, no, we can save it. I said, you had 2 years to save it. I'm done. It's a wrap. Cut it off. So 2 weeks later, I'm at Baptist Hospital, and I amputate my right leg. And it's a different feeling when you wake up. You know, the half the foot, I still had a heel and an ankle, so you didn't really think about it. But it's a different feeling waking up and you just have a nub like flapping in the wind there, you know, when you wake up from sleep, when you're missing part of your body that you know, were born with. But emotionally, I was all right. I got to the point where I was getting ready to get a prosthetic, and I was actually getting up out of my chair. Now, mind you, I had the surgery, and the doctor came in there and said, I need you to sign this. This is for your morphine pump, and this is for your pain meds. I'm like, I ain't taking that. And he said, you have to. I'm like, no, I don't have to do anything. And he's like, yeah, you have to take pain meds. He said, you're losing part of your body. There's no way you can't do it without pain medicine. And I said, what'd you say to me? He said, you can't. I said, hide and watch. So I cut my right leg off. I never took one pain pill. Never took one. Now, mind you, listen to me. I'm not telling anybody to do that. That was the stupidest thing that I've ever done in my entire life. It was the worst thing that I ever did, and it was the most painful thing that I ever did. But I did it because he told me that I couldn't do it. He said in 35 years, nobody had ever done it. I said, okay, I'll show you. So I did it. It wasn't fun. Don't recommend it to anybody. The day before I was supposed to get my right prosthetic, I fell at work. And I was back at work 2 days after I cut my leg off, rolling around in a wheelchair, running my dealership. I was a little legless wonder running around the dealership, running the car. I still was going to be the best car guy ever. It didn't matter. But I got up out of my chair one day, like you're sitting in a chair, and I had my walker, and I went to put my leg on the walker, and when I did, I missed the walker and fell straight forward on my stump. 230 pounds, right on the ground. Shattered my stump, completely open. Ripped it open. They took me to the hospital. I took duct tape again. You know, duct tape's magic. Wrapped it up in a trash bag and drove to the hospital. When I got to the hospital, the doctors and nurses were freaking out so bad, they thought that I had literally just cut my leg off. They didn't realize that because it had clotted. It looked like Jell-O, like it was crazy inside of there. Had to have emergency surgery, 6 more weeks till I got a prosthetic. I get my first prosthetic. When I got my first prosthetic, I'm standing there. If you've ever been to one of those clinics, there's 2 rails. And they tell you, put your leg on and walk and hold on to the rails for stability. I said, I don't need that. Get out of my way. I'll be good. Put my leg on. I walked. He's like, you're not supposed to be able to do that. And I was like, well, what? And he said, you know, you're not supposed to be able to walk that good the first time you ever put a prosthetic on. I said, well, let's go do stairs. He said, nah, that takes you a long time. I said, let's go do stairs. So I went and did stairs, went and did heels. By the time I got done, all the doctors and nurses are out there recording me. Like, yo, you're not supposed to be able to do this. You're doing stuff, you know, you did in 10 years. So I'm back in the gym a week later, deadlifting 400 pounds with one leg, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Playing golf a month later, running on a treadmill. Everything they told me I shouldn't be able to do, however long they told me, it was way shorter than that. In between this time, remember what I told you was about to walk in the door? Here it comes. We need the round of applause. The one and only, Mr. Alan Pott. Look at him. They're right here, sir. Now listen, Alan is literally my brother. His dad and my dad grew up together. I've known Alan since we were in diapers. Alan and his family have been there for me and with me since day one. They are, if I'm not at my house or at the gym, I'm at their house. They have a daughter. She's not here right now, but during the process of me going through all I went through, I struggled trying to find things to help me stay motivated. They had a young lady. Her name's Aubrey. She is my angel. And I call her my angel because I was at a point in my life where I was going through the divorce. and I was going through, everything physically, and she was born. And I still remember rolling in the hospital room at Catawba Valley Medical Center right after I had lost my first leg, going in the hospital room and holding her that first day. Like, I remember it like it was yesterday. And it's the same feeling every time I get to see her. If I'm feeling down, that's where I go. She's my angel. And I know for a fact that God put her here when he did, how he did, because they had tried to have, I'm going to put a little business out there. They had tried to have a child for a couple of years before that, and it didn't happen. And this was kind of a, wow, here we go. And it happened literally, they know, in a time that I needed it. Like that's my people. They already were, and Dalton and Jathan, I've known them since they were born, but she brings light. Like God knew that was at that time, that's how it needed to happen, and he used them because he knew how close I was to bring that light into play. But after this happened, when I had the first amputation, I got my prosthetic leg, I was laying in the bed one night. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I woke up thinking somebody was choking me. And I reach over, and I keep a gun underneath my pillow beside me, and I'm grabbing my gun, and I'm waving my gun in the air like this. Thank God I didn't have my dog yet, because I'd have shot him dead. I swore somebody was on top of me, choking me, and when I finally realized nobody was on top of me, it took me about 30 minutes to come to and to get my breath, sipping on water, and I put my leg on, and I stand up. Now, mind you, I go to the gym. I like to look at myself. One thing about myself, and I'll tell you this, you'll understand, is I tell everybody to love you some you. Like, I'm not kidding. I don't care who loves me, because nobody other than God love me as much as I love me. They can't. They can't. If there's a mirror, if there's a window, there's something, I'm looking at myself. I go to the gym, I'm going to look. I don't care. I give my own self props. You pretty. And I tell myself in a heartbeat. So anyway, I know what I look like without my shirt on. So I walk past, after this happened, and I walk past the mirror, and I'm like, that ain't supposed to be there. In my stomach, my whole midsection was swollen. Ow. And I was like, yeah, that don't look like that. I did core today. I ain't supposed to look like that. I'm good. I'm way more than that. So I Google WebMD again. I'm dying. This time I really was. I had congestive heart failure, and I had just had a widowmaker heart attack. Didn't know it. And it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, I'm not going to the hospital. I can breathe. I'm fine now. I'm going to go back to bed. And had it not continuously said in every article that I read, death, 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 I would have just stayed at home and went to bed. But instead, I didn't trust the hospitals around here anymore, so I drove to Baptist after I had a widowmaker heart attack. Called my dad, 3 o'clock in the morning. He didn't answer. I just left him a message, and it went like this. Hey, I think I just had a heart attack. I'm on my way to the hospital. I'll holler at you when I get there and let you know if I did or not. He wasn't happy with that voicemail. I'll tell you that. So I get to Baptist, and they ask me why I'm there, and I lift my shirt up, and I'm like, I ain't supposed to look like that. And they take me immediately to the back. And when they take me to the back, the doctor comes in there, and he says, how'd you get here? And I said, I drove. And he said, you live over an hour from here. He said, there's no possible way. And I said, well, this ain't Ripley's, believe it or not. Like, I'm telling you, I drove here. Here's my keys. I'm by myself. So they had checked my rhythms and EKGs and all that stuff, and that's when he came in there and told me, you just had a widowmaker. Like 90-some% of people who have a heart attack that strong die, and I just drove over an hour to the hospital. I'm in the cath lab. Immediately, they take me in the back and put stents in my heart, and that's the first of the first heart attack. Get home a couple of days later, back at work, still wanted to be the best car guy ever, didn't care about anything else. And all of a sudden, I start having issues with my left leg. And I went probably, 5 months where I was trying to figure things out in life. I mean, I had been septic so many times. I had the heart attack, and I'm like, all right, God, like, what are we doing? I mean, I get it, but what are we doing? Well, where are we leading in life? Where is this going? How is this headed in a positive direction in a sense? Like, where's my purpose? Now, mind you, I went to church, but I went to Discovery Church every now and then, a couple of Sundays, and then I wouldn't go for a little bit. But I always talked to God. I always had my own conversations with God. And I had a lot of intimate conversations with Alan and Casey and my dad. And, everybody that knew me knew, there's this tough guy, like he's going through all this stuff. But they didn't know there was a lot of times where I struggled. I mean, during all this, there's not too many things people can't talk to me about. There were moments that I've sat on the couch before with a loaded gun to my forehead. It's not something that I'm not scared to talk about because I'm still here for a reason. I went through so many emotions going through a divorce, going through all the things physically at that one time that I couldn't understand why I was going through these things. Prayed about it, asked God about it, talked about it, and everybody said the same thing. Oh, you're here for a purpose. You're here for a reason. You're here for this. You're here for that. Now, this whole time, I've shared my story. I've always been on social media. I've told everybody about what's going on. But during that first heart attack, I was diagnosed with stage 3 at the time, renal kidney failure. So, heart attack, kidney disease, lost my left leg, or right leg at that time, and dealing with all that stuff. In May of 2019, I woke up again and thought I was having another heart attack. 2 o'clock in the morning, sick, couldn't figure out what was going on. So then immediately I said, all right, I've same sensations, I'm having a heart attack, I got to go to the hospital. The only thing to do. I live by myself. So I called, I was looking for my phone, I'm lying. Carolina and Duke played that night, my townhouse is 2 stories. I put my leg on and I tried to stand up, and I couldn't move. Couldn't move my legs, or my one leg and the rest of my lower body. I couldn't move. Couldn't do anything. I didn't know why. So I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to handle it. I said, I got to get to my phone because something's not right in my body. Something's not going right. This is obviously something that's wrong. And I had just watched, if you ever seen the movie Lone Survivor, Marcus Luttrell is the Navy SEAL who survived that, and he had watched his speech to the University of Alabama football team, and he talked about when he fell off a rock and he broke his back, and he crawled 8 miles. Bear crawled 8 miles. And he told the story of how he took a rock and he drew a line in front of him and he crawled till his feet touched the line. And he said, if I'm alive, then I'm going to draw another line. I'm going to crawl till I get to that point. Immediately in that moment, that's the first thing that come to my head. You got to get to your phone. It's downstairs. So I took my leg off, threw it at my door, and I crawled to my door. And I got to the top of my stairs, and I threw my leg down the stairs. And the only way I'd get down the stairs was roll. So I put in a bear crawl, and I rolled down the stairs. Threw my leg in the living room, crawled to the telephone, laid in the floor, sprawled out like a week's washing. Ambulance comes, picks me up. I'm in the hospital. As soon as I get there, I'm in full-blown kidney failure. My blood pressure was like 200 over 130. It was something crazy. I had all kinds of like major issues, so they checked my heart. I said, this feels like I had another heart attack. My heart was perfect. Nothing wrong with my heart. So I'm like, all right, what is it now? Couldn't figure out what was going on. I woke up. I stayed in the hospital. They put me in ICU, and they wouldn't do any kind of labs as far as MRIs because they were worried about my kidneys continuing to fail. So I got to Friday, and when I got to Friday, the doctor comes in and says my oxygen levels had dropped down to below right at 50, and my blood pressure was like 100 over 60. It was really low. Things were getting glim, but we didn't know what was going on. So she comes in and says, I'm going to have to do the scan. The dye may shut your kidneys down, but we got to figure out what's going on. I said, look, I want to live. I don't care about any of this stuff. I want to live. So let's do it. So we do the scan. 5:15 Friday afternoon. My dad had just called and said he was on his way to the hospital, and the woman walks in with a gown. I'm sitting on the edge of the bed, and she throws the gown at me. She says, get this on. I got to get you in emergency surgery. You might not make it through the night, and I don't know if you'll be able to survive surgery. And I'm like, all right, time out. What are we talking about here? Like, how about we pause for a second and you tell me what's going on? And she says, you've got 2 massive blood clots in the Achilles of your leg, and you also have another infection on the side of your foot that has spread through your body, and your body is completely infected, and it's shutting your whole body down. So I'm like, all right, So put the gown on, call my dad. I'm in tears. Obviously, it's the 47th time I've been told I should die and I might die and all this other stuff. And I get downstairs in pre-op, and she says, is there anybody that you want to see? And I said, honestly, the only person I want to see in this situation is my dad. And she said, is he here? And I said, he was on his way here. So we called my dad. He says, I'm 12 minutes away. And she says, do you want to wait? I said, well, you're the one telling me I'm going to die. My dad would rather hug my neck alive after surgery than hug it before and me not live. I said, so you tell me if I got 12 minutes. She said, I need to get you into surgery. So I couldn't wait 12 minutes on my dad to get to the hospital. I'm in surgery for like 5.5 hours. Alan and Casey's anniversary dinner was that night. They're in Charlotte. My dad calls them, obviously tells them things are bad. And they leave right then and come down. And I wake up out of surgery about 5 hours later, and the lady says, you know, we saved your life. We got some roads to climb. But she says there's like 60 people waiting to see you. I said, there's no way. She said, what do you mean? I said, I don't like 60 people. Like, there ain't no way there's 60 people here to see me. So they pulled me in the hallway, and people were lining the hallway, you know. And that was honestly, hands down, the worst night of my life. I took pain medicine, and they gave me Dilaudid, they gave me morphine, they gave me everything in the world, and it was hands down the worst night of my life. My dad stayed in the hospital with me, and it was terrible. I didn't want to be alive. At that moment was the one time in my life that I said, God, I'm done. It's over. Like, ain't nobody going to know that I quit. Ain't nobody going to know that it beat me. Ain't nobody going to know that I quit, that I gave up. Nobody's going to know that. And I sat there for about 5 minutes, just like, what do I do? Just go to sleep? Like, I was ready. I was done. I did not want to deal with this anymore. I had gave up, like it was over, and I knew that I had been through so much that nobody would know that I actually quit. Lifeon, it's on my leg, it's tattooed on my arm. That's mine. I started that when this whole journey started. You know, people talk about starting a fight and that kind of thing. Mine's like flipping a light switch. Lifeon. It's time to live. It's time to fight. That's what we do. And that's how I started that whole Lifeon thing. But I knew nobody would know that I quit. And then after laying there for about 5 minutes, okay with death, okay with it about to be time, I thought to myself, you're wrong. There's 3 people going to know that you quit. First off, my dad would never believe in a million years that beat me. We had been through too much together. Like my dad, at the point now, when he hears something else happens, it's just like, well, what do we got to do to beat it? Like we've been through so much that it's just like, what do we got to do to beat it now? How do we attack it? How do we go after it? How do we beat it? But my dad was the first one I knew would know that I gave up. Second person was me. I'd be dead, but I'd be knowing. And when I was in heaven, I knew where I was going. That's the biggest thing is that I was okay with it because I knew that if I died, I wouldn't have to put my legs on in the morning anymore. Wouldn't have to struggle no more. Wouldn't have to hurt. Wouldn't have to go through those things. But I knew that I would know that I gave up, that I quit. I tell everybody all the time, keep fighting. I tell everybody no matter what it is, keep going. But I was going to give up. So for 3 years, 4 years, I had preached to everybody, don't quit. Everybody had watched me not quit, but I was about to quit. Then the third person was God. Now I don't know how it's going to be when I die. I don't know how it's going to be when I walk up to the gates and, you know, when first time I see God. I just kind of had a visual in my mind that I was going to walk up and I was going to see him and my legs was going to be back and everything was going to be good. And I was going to have 10 toes again and everything was going to be straight. And then I was going to have to look God in his eyes, though. And at that moment, I knew he would know that I gave up. He would still welcome me into heaven. I'm still going, but still yet, he was going to know that I gave up. And at that moment, I knew there was no giving up. I couldn't do it. There was nothing left to do but to fight. So the next morning, the lady walks in, the doctor. She takes the cast off my leg, and my leg's cut in about 15 different places, and she says, it's amazing. You have amazing blood flow. You were in the greatest, this is awesome. We saved your leg. No, you didn't. She said, what are you talking about? I said, nah, you didn't save it. I said, you're going to tell me, first question I asked her was, how long is it going to take for that to heal? She said, 10, 11 months. I said, you don't know me well enough, but there ain't no way I can sit still for 10, 11 months. I can't sit still for 10 or 11 minutes, much less 10 or 11 months. Then I said, you're going to tell me if you do save my leg, I got to quit going to the gym. I got to quit playing golf. I got to quit doing those kind of things. I said, here's what you don't understand. I live my life my way. Only two people I worry about answering to is myself and God. I don't have to worry about anybody else. If I ever get married again, I'm not answering to my spouse. The one thing that people need to understand clearly, you may not like what I'm getting ready to say, but it's the 100% the facts and the truth. You're not responsible for the way that anybody looks at you. You understand? You're not responsible for anybody else's opinion of you. The only opinion you need to worry about is God's and what you see when you look in that mirror. Because that's going to tell you plenty enough. It's going to tell you plenty enough. People always say, I ask this question, and I'm eager because the answer is normally the same. I ask people when I talk to them, what do you live for? What's your purpose? What's your reasoning behind what you do? And they always tell me the same thing. It's either their family, their children, their whatever. That's their motivation. It's not mine. None of that's mine. God obviously has kept me here for a reason, but my motivation and what I look for in motivation is myself, and here's why. If you have family, if you're married, if you have children or whatever, and things are going on in your life and you walk up to them, here's what they're going to say to you 95% of the time. It's okay. Take a break. Pause. It's okay to not push yourself anymore. My life, it's not okay for that. My life, I take a break. If I pause, I may not be here. So the way that I hold myself accountable is I know that if I look myself in the mirror every single day and I know that I fought as hard as I could possibly fight that day, that everybody that's in my circle is going to be taken care of. Everybody that I possibly could use as motivation is better off if I motivate myself than if I use them for motivation. That was put on me 100% by God because I had to figure out what my purpose was to continue to go through these things. Because the second that I seen my leg and the second that I realized that, I told that lady, cut my leg off. Second one. And she said, huh? And I looked at my dad and I said, didn't even talk to anybody about it. Didn't talk to Alan, didn't talk to Casey, didn't talk to my mom, didn't talk to my dad, nothing. Looked at the doctor, I said, cut my leg off. Then I looked right at my dad and I said, I'm going to need you. My dad was like, I got you, you know that. 2 days later, snipped it off. Cut the second one off. Now, they told me when I cut my leg off, here's a bedpan. We're going to use a bedpan. I looked at that nurse. I said, I don't know why you gave me that, but there's a bathroom right there, and that's where I'm going. And she said, oh, honey, it's okay. My dad tried to tell. I said, look, I'm not using a bedpan. She said, cool, we'll get you one of them little toilets to sit beside your bed. I said, yeah, no, I'm not doing that either. I'm going to the bathroom. I said, go get me an office chair. She said, what? I said, go get me an office chair. So she went and got me an office chair. When I had to go to the bathroom, I put my right leg on, my prosthetic. I sat in the office chair, slid off the bed to the office chair. I pushed myself to the bathroom. I hopped off, hopped on the bathroom, used the bathroom, and rolled right back to the bed when I was done. I wasn't using nothing. No, it's not happening. Alan and Casey have heard me tell plenty of people, I'm not using, don't bring that in here, not today. That's Satan to me. Like, that's them trying to beat me. Cut my leg off, and I did it for a main reason because walking with one prosthetic was so easy, and life really wasn't that difficult. And I was like, well, I can do it with one, I can do it with two. I'm not worried about it. It's my drive, it's my motivation. I got a prosthetic in 4 weeks, fastest anybody's ever got one, after I already had one leg. Never forget, went to the Hanger Clinic in Winston-Salem, put my legs on, and all I wanted to do was walk to the bathroom. We take things so for granted because I had to crawl. I couldn't use one leg. I couldn't walk on crutches. Heck, I didn't have coordination when I had both legs, much less trying to hop with one. I was out. So I crawled, and all I cared about, I told Alan, told Casey, told everybody, hey, look, I just want to walk to the bathroom. The simplest of things, that's all I wanted to do. So I get there, put my prosthetics on. He says, use the bars. I said, get out the way. I ain't using them bars. I'm good. And I took a step. Doop, fell on my face. And I looked down. I'm like, is my shoes untied? I trip over my big rubber toe. Like, what do we do? Something happened. Ain't no way I didn't figure this out. Not me. Got up, took a step, fell on my face. Boom. I'm like, the second time, I said a little prayer. I said, hey, God, a little help. Let me get a little help from you, if you don't mind. I'm going to need you here just in a second. So I got up, tried a third time, fell on my face. And this time, I done broke into tears. Because now I'm like, I done cut both my legs off, and I can't walk. I can't walk. I don't know. What am I going to do? I have no legs, walking around with these prosthetics. Stayed in there for almost 5 hours trying to figure it out, couldn't figure it out. Called my dad, had to walk out to the car with a walker. Called my dad driving home, and I was in tears. I said, look, my head's messed up. I don't want to be by myself. I'm coming to your house. So I go to my dad's. My dad had set up a bedroom for me, and I go in and immediately take both of them off. I said, I'm not putting these things back on. I was hurting. Sore, come in with the walker. Fell on my face, stepping up on the rail when I first walked in there. I said, yeah, get them off me. Laid in the bed for 2 days. Now, mind you, my dad was a Marine. Anybody knows my dad, there wasn't no sucking it up. Like, you get up and go. I mean, that's just how it is. It's the way that Chris knows. That's just the way that it is. You just go, period. But something changed in my dad's heart, like, for these 2 days because he showed compassion, like real compassion. Now, the most compassion he has shown was I was at the Valdez Rec one time at the softball fields at McGarry Falls and fell off the rock. You know the little rock that sits at the top of McGarry Falls? You ever been there? I fell off of it after I'd been told 27 times to stay off of it and rolled down to the bottom and broke my arm in 3 places. I was like 12, 13 years old, and I sat in the dugout for 4 hours with my arm like this. Finally, my dad realized I ain't moved my arm, and he drove 90 to Valdez Hospital when he realized I wasn't playing, I wasn't blowing smoke. I was hurt. I broke my arm in 3 places. But my dad had compassion, and he didn't really say a whole lot to me. Made me breakfast every morning before he went to work. Left. He would come back home, got me dinner, and said every night, have you walked any? No, sir. No, sir. Just crawled to the bathroom. Back to square one. Crawl into the bathroom. The third morning, my dad went to work. I crawled to the bathroom, and I was at the sink. Now, mind you, I'm on my knees, and all I could see was my eyes in the mirror. And I just finally caught a glimpse of myself. Remember that whole looking at yourself and being able to understand and feel a certain way about yourself? I caught my eyes in the mirror. And immediately I thought, what are you doing? They're not flowers. They're not growing back. It's over. This ain't there's no magic potion that's going to make these things grow back. Like, it quits, basically just stop pouting and let's go. Like, it's time. So I got up, rolled to my room, crawled to my room, put my legs on, grabbed my walker, went outside, walked up and down my dad's driveway for 8 hours with a walker by myself, like 90 degrees outside. My dad gets home from work. He said, how long you been out here? I said, since you left. I said, do you have a cane? He said, yeah. I said, go get it. So he goes and gets me his cane. I did one lap with a cane, went inside, took a bath, soaked my legs. They were really sore. Got up the next morning. He went to work. I went outside with the cane. I walked for 8 hours, back and forth. My dad got home at night. I said, I'm going home. He said, yeah, I don't think you should do that. Your house is 2 stories. I said, I'll crawl up the stairs. I'll take my legs off. I'm going home. I'm 36 years old. It's time. I'm going home. So took the walker and the wheelchair out of my car, and I left them in his driveway. He said, take these and my crutches. I said, no, I'm not taking those. He said, yeah, take them just in case. I said, no, if I take them, I'll use them. I don't need that. I'll figure it out. If I fall, I'll figure it out. You can ask them. I'm with them more than anybody. If I fall, don't touch me. If something happens, leave me alone. Not like in a disrespectful way, but just move. I'm going to be all right, and I'm going to get up myself. Some way, one way or the other, I'm going to figure it out. Last year, I spoke at a church. Alan was there. And I had showed people the difference between how you go to the restroom at night, how I go to the restroom at night. I had a chair, and I didn't think this out all the way through when it started, but I had a stool. It wasn't a chair. This is what I should have used but I had a stool, big old bar stool up tall. And I had stairs like this, and I had a chair sitting down at the bottom. And I took my legs off because I told Alan, I said, come to the chair, show him kind of like how you would go to the bathroom, and then get up and go sit down. Just get up, go, come back. Me, I don't just put my legs on and go to the bathroom. I crawl to the bathroom, push myself up, use the bathroom, wash my hands, go back to bed. So I'm on the stool, acting like I'm getting ready to get off the bed. But the stool ain't got nowhere to put your hands. The stool ain't got nowhere for nothing. So Alan's standing right in front of me right here, and I'm right here on the stool. And by this time, there's tons of people in here watching me. It was go time. There wasn't no rethinking it. I already had the legs off, pushed to the side. It's time to go. So I was like, whatever. Glasses on, pushed off the chair, face planted, right in front of everybody. Now, mind you, everybody in there thought, oh, my God, every time he goes to the bathroom, he face plants. And everybody thought that. Everybody was like, oh, my gosh. And at this point, I'm just like, let's go with it. Like, it's over. Glasses flew 10 feet across. I land at Alan's feet. Now, my best friend is standing here like this. Casey's sitting right there, and he just turns around, just like this, and sits down with me on my face. And Casey asked him, he knew that I didn't mean to flap on my face. First question he asked me afterwards was, you didn't mean to fall like that, did you? I was like, nah, not at all. But Casey asked him, why didn't you help him up? And the first thing out of his mouth is, he'd have punched me right in the gut, like right in front of everybody if I'd have tried to help him. Doesn't matter what the situation was. But got up, and after I used my cane, a week later I was in the gym, walking on the treadmill. 2-3 weeks later, I was doing deadlifts and stuff again in the gym. A month later, I was playing golf again. It was just your mind. Your mind controls absolutely everything that you're battling. Your mind controls absolutely everything that you're going through. Your mind can make it 10 times worse or make it 10 times better. Doesn't matter what it is. Has no possibilities. You're limitless. During this time, after this happened, I'm thinking, cool, I cut my legs off. I ain't going to worry about this no more. No more hospitals, no more doctors, none of that. I'm good. My legs were the problem. They're gone. I'm straight. Well, here comes more heart attacks. 3, to be exact. So I had 4 total. 2 of them were caused by my kidney failure, fluid building up around my lungs, building up around my heart, causing my heart to stop. In July, my kidney function went to about 30%, and they said, we need you to go on dialysis. I said, whatever, I got to go on the transplant list, got to get a kidney. You're not going to live too long if you don't get a kidney. I said, okay. So I'm in Top Valley Medical Center, and they're getting ready to tell me that to start this process, they need to check my heart, and they do a scan of my heart, and they come in there and they tell me, man, you're like an Olympic athlete. Your heart is so strong, like you going to the gym, the things you do, like that thing is impeccable. So then they're like, we got to take you to the cath lab and check your arteries. I go in the cath lab, I'm laying there, they shine the light up, and the second they did, he stops. And he says, who's with you? I'm like, me? And he said, no, who's with you? I said, listen, I'm 36 years old. How about you tell me what's going on, and then I'll decide who needs to know it. Lines it up again. He says, let me make a phone call. He goes and makes a phone call. He comes back in. He says, I've got to get you to Baptist Hospital right now. You have to have emergency open heart surgery. You have 3 arteries 100% blocked, 1 artery 90% blocked. He said, I don't know how you're alive. You're not supposed to be here. He said, it's not, and how you do what you do in the gym and those things. He said, you shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be alive. And so I'm like, open heart surgery, huh? All right. So literally 2 hours later, they got me in an ambulance. I'm driving to Baptist Hospital. 5 o'clock the next morning, quadruple open heart bypass surgery, just where that scar, where they took the arteries out of my arm and obviously split my chest open. I have a catheter that's in the top of my heart right here that I'm on dialysis currently. But all that happened in a matter of minutes. This happened in July. And I wake up from open heart surgery, and my mom and my dad were there. And I got some pictures, pretty cool pictures actually, laying there all jacked up. And woke up, and the doctor comes in there. It's about 12 hours post-op. actually 12 hours from the start of surgery. Surgery was about 5.5 hours long. COVID was going on. Parents weren't there then. I was basically there by myself. And the doctor walks in and he says, I'm going to need you to get you to walk in the next couple of days because to leave, you got to walk. I'm like, so for me to get out of here, I got to walk. He said, yeah. I said, get the walker, get my legs. He said, listen, man, you just had surgery 6 hours ago. Like, you can't walk right now. What'd he say? He said, can't. And I said, yeah, you messed up. I said, get me the walker, get me my legs. And he's like, are you serious? I said, yeah, I'm serious. Get me the walker, get me my legs right now. So he goes, and there's a video on Facebook of me. I had catheters coming out of my neck. I had tubes coming out of my stomach, tubes coming out of my chest, tubes coming out everywhere. And I'm legs on, mask on, walking around the hallway 12 hours after I had open heart surgery because he told me that I couldn't. 6 weeks later, not supposed to happen, I'm back in the gym. Now we're here, we're doing what we're doing now, awaiting a kidney, looking for a living donor, going through all the stuff that, I've went through to get to this purpose. But I say all that to tell you, the other day I posted a quote on Facebook, Vanessa Bryant, I don't know if you know who she is. Kobe Bryant was somebody that I looked up to greatly for multiple reasons. For one, he's one of the greatest basketball players to ever play the game. Vic is a big Lakers fan, Kobe guy. We've loved Kobe for a long time. But his heart and his determination and his fight and his grit was what made him as amazing as he was. The fact that he never quit, the fact that you didn't want the ball in his hands at the end of the game, the fact that you knew he was coming for blood. Not only was he going to score on you, but he was going to defend your best player too and was going to lock everything down. He was the greatest that I personally ever got to witness a full career of. Me. I went and watched him most of the time when he came and played the Hornets. Loved the guy. Was a very big fan. Passed away last year unexpectedly in a helicopter crash with his daughter. But his wife released a quote the other day that I posted, and it said, death is guaranteed, but living the rest of the day isn't. Find your reason to live. I told you guys I struggled for a long time trying to figure out my purpose. Why was this continuously happening? I told the pastor the other night when we were talking, why is this happening? Why am I continuing to go through things? Had the same conversation with Victor, had it with Casey, had it with Alan. Casey is like I need to figure out the proper word for this, being that we're in church. We call her the Moab. Have you ever heard of the thing that the Trump dropped? It's called the Moab. It's the mother of all bombs. That's what Casey is. But that's how she is to me when I need to hear something. Alan we've been through so much together. When we talk, we communicate. But when I need to hear that one word, when I need to hear the way it's said to me a little bit more stern, she's not afraid to say it sternly, I promise. She's that one person that's not afraid to say it. And I struggled for a long time figuring out those things. And don't get me wrong, trust me, I still have my moments now. Dialysis is the worst thing that I've ever been through in my entire life. I've survived a lot of stuff. I've been septic over 40 times. I've lost both my legs, 5 amputations. I mean, I've been through a lot of things. Quadruple open heart bypass surgery, heart attacks. Nothing compares to dialysis. Absolutely nothing. Friday I was in dialysis. My blood pressure dropped to 82 over 47. I was done for a day and a half. Couldn't move. I was done. But I go to the gym, and a lot of people ask me how many days I go to the gym a week, 5 or 6. And they ask me what days I take off, and they figure it's dialysis days. And the days that I never miss are Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And there's a reason why. Because if I don't go to the gym on the days that I go to dialysis, then it wins. Ain't nothing beating me. Ain't nothing beating me. So every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I go to the gym because I'm not willing to accept the fact that something was stronger than I am. It's not just me. If it were on me, I told Mr. McFalls this morning, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't do this just for me. I wouldn't continue the fight and the battle for myself. This is so much bigger than me. This is a team thing. A lot of people message me. I talk to a lot of people on Facebook, on social media, in person. I have a very vast and large following. I have people all across the country that support the Lifeon mission and the things that I do all across the country. A lot of the car business has had an effect in that, but I have a big following. I've had a bunch of people, quite a few people, in the last week alone who have sent their information in about being a living donor that's never met me before. They've just followed my journey. But the biggest thing that I realized that makes things a lot easier now is it's not about me. People tell me when they try and talk to me, man, it's hard for me to talk to you because the things that happen to me are so much bigger, and your story is so much greater and so much more powerful than mine. It feels like I shouldn't be talking to you or complaining. The pastor was talking about the word complaining earlier. I don't look at it as that. This morning, he said something where he was talking about everybody's battles are different. Here's the thing. You do certain things, a lot better than me that I'm not going to be able to handle well and struggle with. Patience, I don't have any. I'm just telling you, like, if I got to do something, I want to do it now. I don't need to hear you tell me I got to wait. No, I'm going to do it now. I don't have patience. There's a lot of things that I struggle with, but your battles and your journeys are no bigger or stronger than mine. We're one of one. Everybody's their own individual. Everybody has their own purpose on this earth. Everybody has their own plan on this earth. Everybody was made for a specific reason. You're molded in your own way to be your own person. It doesn't matter what my battles are. If my battles help you continue to fight, great. Yours do mine. Trust me, the way that I get motivation when I struggle is I scroll through social media. And the people that I see in my life that are hurting, that are in pain, I do whatever I can do to fix it. I do whatever I can do to be there. I don't care how bad my stuff is. I'm going to be there. I don't care if it hurts. I'm going to be there. That's my purpose. That's my passion, because what you have going on is just as important as what I have going on. You're better at things than I am. And it's vice versa. We're all one of one. Our molds are made differently. I tell people all the time, never let your value depreciate based on somebody's inability to see your worth. Say that again. Never let your value depreciate based on someone's inability to see your worth. It goes back to what I tried to tell you, that nobody's opinion matters other than the way you see yourself and the way God sees you. That's it. That's all that matters. It doesn't mean you love your wife any less if you don't really necessarily worry about her opinion of you. It doesn't mean that your children are going to look at you any different if you're not worried about how they look at you. Because again, if you hold yourself to a level of standard yourself into what God sees you, it doesn't matter what their perception is anyway. You're not having to worry about appeasing anybody if you're pleasing yourself in God's eyes and your own eyes. That's why I can't give up. That's why I can't stop fighting. That's why there's no possible way for me to not continue going after what I go after. And I tell people the exact same thing. You have the same drive that I have. I'm not some X-Men character. I don't have any secret power. I don't go eat spinach when things is bad. Like, there's nothing any different than me than there is to you other than a choice. You have two choices. There's only two. There's not any in between. You can either fight or you can quit. That's it. You can either fight or you can quit. And it's all about how you see things. Your perception and your vision and how things portray in life will get you through everything that you're ever going to go through in life. And that starts with God, because that purpose, when she said, find a reason to live, your reason to live is your purpose. Your reason to live is why you're here every day. Your reason to live is what you're battling and how you're going through those things. Right now, Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm sitting in the dialysis center on Tate Boulevard in Hickory. When I leave dialysis about 11 o'clock, I go home and I'm in the bed till about 4 or 5 that afternoon. And then I go to the gym. And then normally, I'm right back at home in the bed till the next day, because it takes a little bit longer to get rid of what's going on with dialysis. I have a fistula in my wrist, but for some reason, the fistula won't take. It won't work. So I'm stuck with this, which is the hardest way to do dialysis. They try and do this for a month and a half max, and they try and switch to here. Mine won't work. I'm going to get it blew up again. It's called Blue Up, on Tuesday to try and make it work, but there's no guarantees again. I'm going to leave you with two things. The number one thing that I try and do every single day is I try and make sure that I'm just better than I was yesterday at something. The only thing I want to do is make sure that I'm better today than I was yesterday at something. I always tell people, as long as I can make someone's life okay, then my life's always going to be okay. I enjoy helping people. I enjoy talking to people. Joey, a good friend of mine, he's sitting back there, Mr. Rowe. He has a barbecue every single year. A lot of people come. It's a big time. A lot of people know Joey and his family really well. And I was blessed with the opportunity to get to speak at their function this year, and something that we're going to continue as things go. But I do those things not for attaboys. I told Mr. McFalls this morning, I don't do this for me. You know, I don't speak about this stuff for my own purpose and pats on the back. I don't share my story all the time on social media and everywhere that I share it. For me, I could care less. I know I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing by the people that I touch, the people that I see here tonight. Mr. Delvecchio, he's sitting here. I just met him 3 weeks ago at the Nissan store during my barbecue that I had for my kidney fundraisers that we were doing. And he's sitting here with his family tonight listening to my story. And we've had some conversations and that kind of thing. Dustin, you know, I've known, we went to school together. He's been by my side, and his family, you know, through thick and thin, through a long time. Justin with him, he brought his mom here tonight. Like, the people that I see and the things that I touch and the impact that I'm able to make to go through what I'd go through, I'll go through 100 times over again to be able to make sure that I can help somebody. My journey's not over. I believe this 100%. I believe when I get a kidney, something else is going to come. Only thing I've asked for during this entire time is 1 week. When I get a kidney, give me 1 week. Like, 1 week to go to some deserted island and take my legs off and flop around like a week's washing for a week and not have to worry about anything. Then when I come back, hit me again. I'm cool. Let's go. Just give me 1 week. The first time I ever went to the beach after I cut my legs off, so no lie, I went to the beach, all the little kids running around. I sat in the chair, took my legs off. And they said, how you going to get to the water? I was from here to the door to the water because I didn't want my legs to get wet. I said, I'm going to crawl. They said, well, people are going to stare. I said, well, let them stare. If somebody says something to me, I tell them a shark bit my legs off when I was crawling back in from the water. I don't care. Like, mind your business. I want to swim. So I got to the ocean, and I took off. And I had a vision in my mind of, have you ever seen Forrest Gump? Now, mind you, if you're on TikTok, I have a video remade of this that went viral. It's pretty funny. But when Lieutenant Dan is on the boat, and he finally accepted that he was lost both of his legs, and he dives in the water, and he just starts wading. And he's by himself, and he's just staring up in the sky. I promise you, that was the one thought on my mind this day. I swam as far as I could swim. I couldn't hardly see anybody in the shore. That's how far out I was. And when I realized there was nobody within any vicinity of me, I laid back. And I just looked up. And I just relaxed. For 5 years, I haven't been able to get in the ocean. I haven't been able to really get in the swimming pool. I had casts on both my legs this entire time. Now, I've never been back in the ocean since because sand gets in places that sand shouldn't get in if you have to crawl back in from the ocean. So I don't do the ocean no more. I'm out. I give you swimming pool, all that mess, but no more ocean. No more ocean. But the last thing I want to tell you is a story. And I want you to think about this story the rest of this week. Keep it in your mind. It's about perception. There was 3 men. 2 of them grew up together. They were millionaires. Made a lot of money. Lived a lavish lifestyle. Had the biggest house. Had the most fun. I don't even need this thing. I'm loud enough.
Wow, thank you so much, Chad, for that. Let me leave you with a verse, and we're going to pray. I was thinking as he was talking, Matthew chapter 11 says this. You know, you're saying, boy, just a week if I can just sit back and relax. Jesus said this, take my yoke upon you. Come unto me, all ye that are that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. The greatest thing that will give you rest is knowing God. Know Him. Know Him passionately. And when you know Him, you can rest in Him. Thank you, Chad, for sharing that. I wish I was still coaching. You could come and speak to my kids at halftime. And Lifeon is at the website, and there's gear there that you can go and support him. We're going to pray. I want you to help me right now as we pray. He needs a living donor. And we need God, we're going to pray that God will come through. And living donor means someone living. And the website, if that is possible, is your Facebook that takes someone over to where they can fill the paper out. Let's end and pray. Father, thank you for Chad. I pray, God, you continue to grow him in your knowledge. And may he seek you and love you all of his days. And so, God, we pray as he shares his story. And God, we know where we are here. We need a living donor. We're asking you, God, to show yourself great here. And we'll look back and see your mighty hand in this. Bless each one here, God, those. I pray, God, that everyone here would open up their heart to you, God, that they would get in the Word and seek to know you where they can find that deep rest that each one of us needs. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you so much for being here tonight.